What if the very thing you fear, being alone, is the key to unlocking your greatest strength? In a world that glorifies crowds and noise, there's a silent power in solitude that most people never discover. But those who do, they don't just survive, they dominate. This is how you transform loneliness into the fuel that makes you unstoppable. Alone doesn't mean weak, it means unstoppable. Let's explore why. Being alone. For most people, those words carry fear. It's not the solitude itself that frightens them, but what it brings. The silence, the self-reflection, the realization that there's nowhere to hide from their own thoughts. In solitude, there's no one to blame. No distractions to drown out the voice in your head that whispers doubts and insecurities. But what if that silence wasn't something to fear? What if it held the key to unlocking your truest, strongest self? Most people are conditioned to seek comfort in the company of others. Society tells you to avoid being alone, to find a tribe, to surround yourself with people who will lift you up. But here's the truth no one likes to admit. The person who always needs someone else to stand is the person who will crumble when the support is gone. They build their identity on the validation of others, borrowing strength instead of forging their own. And borrowed strength? That's no strength at all. When you strip away the noise, the applause, and the excuses, what's left is raw and unfiltered reality. That's where most people falter because solitude demands something they're not ready to give. Accountability. It holds up a mirror and shows you everything you are, everything you're not, and everything you could be if only you'd stop running from yourself. Think about the discomfort that comes with being alone. It's not just the absence of others. It's the confrontation with your own mind. The negative voice that says you're not good enough. The weight of failures, regrets, and fears you've tried to bury. It's all there, waiting. And that's why solitude is so powerful. It doesn't just reveal the cracks in your armor, it forces you to patch them, to fortify yourself until those cracks disappear. History is filled with examples of individuals who found their greatest strength in solitude. Leaders, innovators, and athletes didn't become unstoppable in the safety of a crowd. They became unstoppable when they faced themselves. When Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, he didn't retreat to the comfort of friends telling him, "It's okay, you tried." He went home, shut the door, and worked harder than anyone else because he had something to prove, not to the world, but to himself. When you're alone, there's no one to tell you to take it easy, no one to coddle you with comforting lies. It's just you and the grind. That's the beauty of solitude. It strips away every excuse, every distraction, and leaves you with nothing but focus. Alone, you start to see the truth. Every limitation you thought was real is only as strong as you allow it to be. Every label society placed on you is meaningless unless you accept it. In solitude, you become free. Free to think deeply, to explore your potential without interference. You realize that the power to change your circumstances, to rewrite your story, has always been within you. It's not about having someone else to lean on. It's about standing so firmly on your own that you become unshakable. Yes, solitude can be uncomfortable. It's easier to surround yourself with noise, to stay busy, to never stop long enough to feel the full weight of your pain. But avoiding that discomfort only prolongs the inevitable. You can't run forever. The moment you stop and face the storm, you discover something incredible. That pain you've been running from, it's fuel. That silence you've been avoiding, it's clarity. That fear you thought would consume you, it's the fire that will forge you into something unbreakable. Take a moment to reflect on the hardest times in your life. Were you surrounded by cheering crowds, or were you standing alone, battling through the storm? The truth is, your greatest victories are born not from the approval of others, but from the battles you fight within yourself. When you come out on the other side, stronger and more focused, you'll realize something profound. You never needed anyone to save you. You were your own hero all along. The world might tell you that you can't do it alone, that you need someone to guide you, support you, or carry you. But they're wrong. Being alone isn't a punishment. It's a privilege. It's in those quiet moments, when the rest of the world fades away, that you find out who you really are. And who you are, when you embrace solitude, is unstoppable. You don't fear being alone anymore. You thrive in it. Solitude isn't a prison. It's your training ground. It's where you shed the weaknesses holding you back and become the kind of person no one can break. The person who doesn't need a crowd to succeed, who doesn't need applause to keep going. Because when you've mastered solitude, you don't just survive, you dominate. Alone, you are free. Alone, you are focused. Alone, you are unstoppable. Being alone is only the beginning. True strength comes when you learn to harness that solitude, to channel it into power, focus, and unstoppable energy. Solitude, when mastered, becomes your greatest weapon, a tool to sharpen your mind, fortify your spirit, and build the life you've always dreamed of. The key is not just being alone, but thriving in it. When you're alone, distractions fade. There's no one to interrupt your thoughts, no one to pull you away from your goals. You're left with time, pure, unfiltered time. And what you do with that time will determine whether you stay where you are or rise to heights no one thought possible. Many waste it, drowning in self-pity or waiting for someone to save them. But the relentless, the focused, the unstoppable, they use that time to build. Building begins with small, deliberate actions. Waking up early to plan your day, setting clear, achievable goals, writing down your thoughts to make sense of the chaos in your mind. Solitude gives you the clarity to see what matters and the discipline to pursue it without excuses. When you're alone, there's no one to lean on, but that also means there's no one to slow you down. Solitude forces you to become self-reliant. It teaches you that no one is coming to fix your problems or push you forward. That responsibility lies with you, and that's a liberating realization. It means you're in control. You get to decide how far you go and how hard you push. When you embrace solitude, you begin to see pain differently. It's no longer something to avoid, but something to use. Pain sharpens your focus. It cuts away the unnecessary distractions and forces you to confront what truly matters. Think of every struggle, every disappointment, as fuel. The greater the pain, the stronger the fire. And that fire, it's what drives you to keep moving forward. The world is full of people who crumble under pressure. They quit when it gets hard, blame others when they fail, and avoid discomfort at all costs. But not you. You've learned that pain is part of the process, that every failure, every setback is a lesson in disguise. Solitude allows you to process those lessons, to extract the wisdom from your struggles, and to grow stronger because of them. When you're alone, you also gain the ability to see through the noise, the opinions of others, the constant barrage of advice, the endless comparisons. They all lose their power. In the silence, you learn to listen to the one voice that truly matters, your own. That voice becomes your compass, guiding you toward your goals with unshakable clarity. With solitude comes focus, and with focus comes results. Picture this. While others are wasting time seeking approval, you're outworking them in silence. While they're busy justifying why they can't, you're proving why you can. Solitude isn't about shutting the world out. It's about tuning out the unnecessary so you can amplify the essential. Discipline becomes your greatest ally. Alone, there's no one to hold you accountable but yourself. You set the rules. You decide how hard to push, how far to go, and when to stop. And the beauty of it is that there are no limits, only the ones you impose on yourself. Each day in solitude becomes an opportunity to push further, to exceed your own expectations, and to grow into the unstoppable force you were meant to be. But solitude isn't just about work. It's also about reflection. It's about taking the time to understand who you are, what you want, and why you're fighting. It's in those quiet moments of self-awareness that you discover your true purpose. And once you have a purpose, nothing, not fear, doubt, or failure, can stand in your way. Remember, being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. Loneliness is a lack of connection, but solitude is the ultimate connection with yourself. It's in that connection that you find strength, resilience, and clarity. When you know who you are and what you're capable of, the opinions of others no longer matter. You stop seeking validation because you've already validated yourself. The greatest transformation happens when you stop seeing solitude as an obstacle and start seeing it as an opportunity. It's not a prison, it's a forge. It's where the weak parts of you are burned away, leaving only what's strong, determined, and unbreakable. In solitude, you become self-made. Every victory, every achievement is yours and yours alone. And that's the most powerful feeling in the world, knowing that you did it not because someone helped you, but because you refused to quit. You refused to let your circumstances, your fears, or your pain define you. So, the next time you find yourself alone, don't run from it. Embrace it. Use it. Let it transform you into someone the world can't ignore. Because when you master solitude, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you become unstoppable. Now is the time to stop fearing solitude and start using it. Don't wait for someone to lift you up. Don't wait for validation, and don't wait for the perfect moment, because none of that is coming. It's just you and the path ahead. Stand tall, embrace the silence. Use every ounce of your pain, your struggles, and your solitude to forge an unbreakable version of yourself. Start today, right now, because the only person who can change your life is the one staring back at you in the mirror. Alone isn't your weakness, it's your strength. Prove the world wrong, be unstoppable,